Today's video is a reading vlog of what I read this past week. I read a total of 5 books. One was a thriller and the other 4 were cozy mysteries. What did I think of them? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Jane and welcome to the Reading Nook. Good evening, everyone. It is Saturday, April 2nd, and I finished The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. And the premise of this book, it is about a couple, Anne and Marco Conti, and they are at the next door neighbor's house for a birthday party, and they have a 6-month-old baby girl, and so they can't find a sitter, so they decide to leave her in the house, with doors locked. But every half hour they go to check on her, and by the time the party winds down, when they go home, they notice that the door is open and the baby's gone. So they're obviously panicking because their baby is she's a little thing. She can't just get up and walk out. So somebody obviously has her. So the police interview them and try to figure out what's going on. And at first they think that maybe the parents had something to do with it, and the press are at their house, taking pictures and yelling questions at them, like, did you have something to do with the baby, something with whatever happened with the baby? And she's a basket case, obviously. I mean, her baby is missing, and so she's thinking that maybe she had done something to her baby, because she's experiencing a little bit of postpartum depression, so she thinks maybe she might have done something to the child and not realized it. And so there's a lot of plot twists in this book, and every time there's a new twist. And actually, there was the first plot twist, I kind of predicted it, but the other ones that happened, when I read it, it's like, or when I was actually listening to this on audio, and when those came up, it was a bit of a surprise to me, and the ending was shocking and made my jaw drop. And I gave this book 4 dumplings out of 5. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm actually thinking I like Sherry Lapina's writing. I think she might be one of my favorite authors. Pretty much every book that I've read by her, I've enjoyed. I love the surprising plot twists, so this is right up my alley. And I have one more book left to read by her. I hope she continues to write, because I really enjoy her. I'm enjoying her books a lot. So I just wanted to give you a quick update, and I am going to be. I just started Nothing But Trouble by Ellie Alexander, and I'm also in the middle of the Mysterious Mr Quinn by Agatha Christie. So I'm going to continue with that, reading those 2 books, and I will update you again later. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, April 5th, and I finished Nothing But Trouble last night, and I just wanted to give you an update on what I thought of it. So this is book 11 in the Bake Shop Mystery series by Ellie Alexander, and the series follows Jules Capshaw, and she goes back home to her hometown of Ashland, Oregon, to help out with her family bakery named Tort. And in this book, she is planning on moving back into her childhood home. Her mom, Helen, gave it to her. She's moving out of the house, so there's a lot of things in the house, like family items and things like that Jules needs to go through. And so she's up in the attic, and she finds a journal that her father had written. And this is not a spoiler, but we find out in the beginning of the series in book 1 that Jules' father has already died. He's been dead for many years, and we don't know very much about him. They don't mention much about him, but in this book, we find out that his name was William. And so Jules starts to read the journal, and she finds out that her father was helping the professor. Well, back this was actually when Jules was 5 years old. So back then, the professor was a detective, and his name is Doug, but everybody calls him the professor because he is really into Shakespeare. So the professor and Jules' father, Will, were investigating a death of an actor, and so he was recording it all in the journal. So Jules and the professor are reading the journal. So this helps Jules to find out more about her father, like what he was doing. They were just starting the bakery at the time, and so as they're reading through it and uh, learning more about as Jules is learning more about the past and what was going on. She finds out that the investigation just stopped. They eventually stopped. Her father, the professor tells Will just to stop investigating with him because things were starting to happen. I think there were some threats to the bakery, so if everything just stopped, and so the killer was never found. And so in the present, Jules decides she wants to find out what happened because the people that were involved back then are still living in Ashland. So she investigates a bit more, and so this book I gave 4 dumplings out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was nice to. It was a good read, and you find out it's nice to know more about Jules' father and what he was like and as a person and how hardworking he was, and it's a bit. I guess it's a bit sad for Jules, obviously, because her father's not no longer with her. So this is the best way, I guess you could say, or the one way that she can be connected to him and learn what he was thinking and how what was going on back then when she was only a little child. I mean, when she was only 5 years old, so she didn't really have any sense of what was happening. I mean, a child wouldn't be involved and would never know anything about that because that's adult issues that she would never be interested in or be involved in, really. So it's I guess it's a little bit bittersweet for her to learn more about her father, well, since he's no longer with her. And this is the only reading his words was a connection to him that since he's no longer with her. But it was a good read. I enjoyed it. So I'm still reading the Mysterious Mr. Quinn. It's an Agatha Christie book. It's a short story collections, and I was going to start Mrs. Jeffries' Defense Her Own, and I haven't actually started it yet, but I will be. So I will update you again when I've gotten a little bit more into the Mysterious Mr. Quinn and Mrs. Jeffries' Defense Her Own. So I'm going to head off to work now, so I'll update you again in the next video. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 6th, and I just wanted to give you a quick update before I head off to work. So I finished The Mysterious Mr. Quinn last night, and this is an Agatha Christie short story collection, and it's about a man named Harley Quinn and his friend Mr. Satterthwaite. And Harley Quinn, he's an unusual man. He appears and disappears at random. He'll appear in the scene, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. He just appears and disappears just as quickly. But when he does appear, it is usually a signal that love is in the air. Either love is in the air or somebody is going to die. And I gave this book 3 dumplings out of 5. It was an alright book. I didn't connect with it as much. I think I'm more of a fan of Agatha Christie's full-length novels than her short story collections. I mean, the stories were okay, but I think I enjoy her full-length novels more than the short stories. So I've read another collection by her, and it was an okay read. I think it was just the short stories. I just don't connect with them, unfortunately. So I started reading Mrs. Jeffries' Defense Her Own last night, and I'm on chapter 6 now. So I think I might finish it maybe tonight. We have another reading sprint, so I may finish that one tonight and might be able to give you an update on what I thought about it tomorrow. So I will, like I said, this is a quick update. So I'm going to get ready to go to work, and I'll update you when I've read more of Mrs. Jeffries. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday afternoon on April 7th, and I wanted to give you an update on Mrs. Jeffries' Defense Her Own that I read last night. I finished it, and this is number 30 in the Mrs. Jeffries Mystery Series by Emily Brightwell. And it starts off with Ron Dearman. He is the general office manager of Sutliff Manufacturing, and he's not a very nice man. He's a bit of a bully. He pushes people around, and he's not very popular with the staff there. And he is alone in his office, and someone comes in and shoots him and kills him. And normally the case would be given to Inspector Witherspoon, but he's investigating a fraud case, so it's given to Inspector Nivens instead. And Inspector Nivens, he's not a very nice, he's not a very popular person in the police force. The other officers don't really like him, and Inspector Witherspoon's office or household staff, like Mrs. Jeffries and the rest of the staff, they don't particularly like him either. Nivens is he seems to be a bit jealous of Witherspoon and his success in his solving some cases, and he seems to think that his household staff are helping him, but he can't, he's not going to be able to prove it. But everybody believes he's just a jealous person. But so he's investigating the murder. And so one day, Mrs. Jeffries has her sister-in-law comes down to see her and asks her to help her solve this murder case, just investigate what really happened, because her sister-in-law and her husband, she's worried, the sister-in-law's Fiona is worried that her husband or herself might be implicated in the murder and might be tried and be sent to prison, be found guilty. So she's worried about that. But Mrs. Jeffries is a little bit hesitant at first, because her sister-in-law, as soon as she married her husband, who's Sutliff, he's a member of the Sutliff family, so they own this manufacturing plant. So she married higher than her status was. So because of that, she pretty much cut ties with Mrs. Jeffries and her husband, who was her sister-in-law Fiona's older brother. And so Mrs. Jeffries is a little bit hesitant, because she doesn't want to deal with her sister-in-law, because she just cut them off so long ago. But she agrees anyway. And so, as all with all the other books in this series, Mrs. Jeffries and the rest of the household staff investigate. And later on, something happens where Nivens, he has to withdraw from investigating the case, so it gets sent to Witherspoon to investigate. And I like this book. I gave it 4 dumplings out of 5. I enjoyed it. I really like the plots are always really well done, and the characters, they're really well developed, and I really like the found family aspect in these books. So all the staff, they all love each other and respect each other, and and Witherspoon considers Mrs. Jeffries a friend. So every night when he comes home from work, he sits down with Mrs. Jeffries, and they both have a glass of sherry and just talk about the day and what he's been investigating. So that I really like that everybody is like a family, and they just love and respect each other. So this is number 30, like I said, and there's 40 books in the series, I believe. So I have 10 books left to read before I'm caught up. And I also, last night I started Shucked Apart. That's by Barbara Ross. It's one of the main clam bake mystery series, number 9, and I'm about 51%. I got a lot read last night, and I might finish it tonight or maybe tomorrow. But once I do that, I'll update you again. So I'm going to say goodnight, and I'll talk to you later. Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday morning, April 9th, and I finished Shucked Apart last night. And this book it's actually by Barbara Ross, and it's number 9 in the main clam bake series. And it follows Julia Snowden. She is the operator of a family-run business called the Snowden Family Clam Bake Company in Busman's Harbor, Maine. And so one day in this book, the premise of this book is Annie Greatorex. She's an oyster farmer, and she goes to Julia and asks her to help her figure out what happened. She's been robbed, and she's been robbed of oyster seed and what they call it. I've never heard of this before. It's called oyster spat. I've never heard of it, and what it is a oyster feed that they give to oysters to help them grow. And so Andy is upset because obviously because it's the value of the feed is $35,000. So that's a lot of money, and I mean, and if she loses this feed, then her oysters aren't going to grow, and she won't be able to sell them, and then she'll lose even more money. So she wants to find out who did this, who robbed her. So Julia agrees to investigate, and one day Andy is found dead with a shucking knife in her neck, I think it was, and it's those knives that people use to loosen an oyster shell and loosen the oyster, and before they serve them. And so Julia goes and investigates, and during all these investigations, there's you see her interactions with her family. So she runs her business with her brother, her sister-in-law, her aunt and uncle, and there's also some things going on with her and her boyfriend Chris. There's he's been keeping things from her that she doesn't know about. Like she finds out things that he's not telling her about, or he hasn't been including her in certain things, and there's a bit of a conflict there. I gave this book 3 dumplings out of 5. It was all right. If I remember correctly, in the earlier books, she has a niece and a nephew, Paige and Jack, and if I remember right, there was a lot more interaction with Paige. Like I remember that she was a really, really sweet little girl, and in this book, you don't really see the 2 kids, very much, and I would have liked to see them a bit more. So and this is the last book in the series, so that I'll be caught up in the series. I think there's a new one coming out this year. I'm not sure what the name of it is. I mean, overall, it was an all right book. So this I think this was the last book that I read for this week, and I think it was a pretty good week. I didn't give any books anything under 3 stars. Mostly it was 3 and 4s, so that was very good. So that's going to do it for this week's blog. I think I did pretty well. I had three books that were 4 dumplings and 2 books that were 3 dumplings. So I had a very enjoyable week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.